Welcome back to Hawkeye Skunk Works in my 05 4Runner. Today we are going to crawl underneath and we're going to start doing some winter prep by doing some rust correction and rust prevention. Stay tuned. Now, by no means was this thing bad underneath. I do live in Iowa and we do use salt on the roads, unfortunately. This has been extremely well taken care of since it was new, so there is some surface rust. There is no rot at all underneath. I pulled the factory running boards off last week. Bolts came right out, and I was a little afraid what I was going to find underneath those mounting brackets, but it was perfectly fine, just more surface rust. So down here, I've got the stuff that we're going to use, so let's go take a look at it. So after much internet surfing and YouTube watching, what I ended up with was, I still have it wrapped up here, sorry, but this is Pour 15, Paint Over Rust 15. I have their regular black gloss paint, and then top coat. This really is meant for if it's going to be in UV, but I also read and watched that if it's going to encounter any weather, it's kind of, you may as well go ahead and do that. And yeah, it's definitely going to see some weather. It was worth a little bit extra money. I have their metal prep, which you really do need. This cleans the metal, it converts the rust, and leaves a kind of like a galvanized finish for you to paint over. So definitely going to have that, and you do need to degrease it. I had read some things that the Pour 15 degreaser was not super fantastic, and I did read, I saw some reviews that this WD-40 degreaser is really good, and I've got another spray bottle around here somewhere. So I've got that. I bought a Tyvek suit off of Amazon because I'm tired of getting covered in dirt and rust and paint, so I'm going to be wearing that during the process. I also got myself a face shield. This has still got the coat, the film on. I got to peel off. Because again, I'm tired of getting crap in my face. I'm getting too old for this. And then what I did also buy was a needle scaler, cheap needle scaler with my 20% off coupon from Harbor Freight. What I want to use this for is, it's got all these little pins that go up, they kind of vibrate around and get crap off. It's for getting in nooks and crannies and stuff that I can't really get a wire brush into to try and knock off anything else. With the Pour 15, you really don't have to technically take all that stuff off, but obviously that's best to get as much off as you can. So we are going to get suited up, we'll get some lights, and we'll crawl underneath there and start at it. So because it's going to be hard for me to film a lot of this, I figured I would just show you guys kind of what I'm dealing with before, and then after I'll go outside in some sunlight and get some good shots. But trying to, there we go. See, this is pretty much the worst. You know, it's not corrosion, but it is some rust starting. So we just really want to get in here and knock all this stuff down and get a good coating on it. You can see where the factory undercoating is still really good, and this is kind of the worst under here because this is where the running boards were tucked up. If you look up underneath the floorboards, which is kind of the middle of the shot there, it's still really clean. So like I said, a little rust correction and a lot of rust prevention. So let's get to it. Everything is cleaned up underneath. I figured if some of you that don't know what a needle scaler is, that's what it does. It just kind of vibrates and back and forth. Really good for getting in nooks and crannies. So that's all cleaned up. We've got our Pour 15 metal prep spray that we're going to do. This is over a couple days if you haven't figured that out. So we cleaned the rust last night and degreased everything, pressure washed. That's been dry. Now we're going to do the metal prep, and you have to spray it and keep spraying it. The surface has to stay damp for 20 to 30 minutes, and then you go wash it off, and then that has to be completely dry before you start the actual painting process. So that's what we're gonna do. The Tyvek suit, that was great. I'm gonna be doing more of those. I forgot how warm those things are, so because they don't breathe. In the summer they're awful to paint in, but in the cooler temperature it's great. And then this is the clear shield that I had. It's dusty right now on the inside, actually, but I wrapped saran wrap in it over it to keep a lot of the grime off. So yeah, I'm gonna cut this, and then I'm gonna start spraying some metal prep, and then next time you see this, we'll probably take a look at the clean surface and start painting. Alright guys, I'm gonna try to show you the best I can down here underneath the back trunk area where the spare tire would be. And so we got a charcoal canister here, and this is the winder for the tire. But I've got my first coat on, and so you can see this is the factory like paint finish. It's not the same color as the car. And then here's the kind of spray sealant they put on all the joints. And then my first coat of Pour 15. Try and show you as best I can, but I gotta do 2 coats of that, and then I'm gonna do 2 coats of the top coat. I was gonna spray this, but everything that I saw said that you can't or shouldn't, and so I'm brushing this on. The top coat says that you can, so I'm gonna attempt to do that with my detail gun, and I'm gonna go over everything. And so that is the plan for now. Like I said, nothing bad. It was just a lot of surface rust that I wanted to clean up. The glare is bad because this is gloss, which I'm not a fan of, but it is what it is. So, let's show you this. The axle I did scrape down, and I sprayed with that prep etch spray, but then I just used some aerosol Rust-Oleum rust converter, and I'll go over it with some Rust-Oleum later. Not real concerned since it's, you know, not stamped steel. Same thing with this cross member up here. And I'm gonna grind down the frame. This frame is in really good shape, but I just want to kind of protect it and everything be black. So I got 2 base coats of the actual Pour 15. I've got the lid sealed with a plastic bag, and then in a plastic bag because, again, it's like super glue. It's moisture activated. Now it's time to do top coat, which they recommend if it's going to see any weather, or especially if it's going to see sunlight, because it's not UV. It doesn't have UV protectant in it. So and I'm reading through the instructions, and it's kind of funny. So everything that I read on the can and online is you should not spray the base coat because it just apparently doesn't work very well, and it gets really nasty when it's vaporized into the air. But it tells you that you can thin it up to 5%. Now, I don't know why you would thin it if you weren't going to spray it, but that's neither here nor there. So the top coat says you can spray it, and it, use 25 to 30 pounds, PSI, but it doesn't tell you like what size of tip to use in your paint gun. It doesn't tell you if you can thin it, if you should thin it, how to thin it. So it's kind of funny. So I've got my this is my detail gun, which is a 1.0 tip, which I'm sure is probably going to be too small. But I can get up in all the nooks and crannies, which is really what I want to spray. Otherwise, I would just brush it on. And I figure, this stuff's not that expensive, and I've got just some paint thinner from the hardware store. If it works, great. If it doesn't, I'll know real quick, and then I'll brush it on, and it gives me some practice with the paint gun. If that tip is too small, I do have my bigger gun. I have a 1.4 in this right now, or no, I have a 1.8 in it, and I have a 1.4 also. Something on my face, cobweb. So I've got my compressors all piggybacked up like I did with the Raptor liner. I'm gonna get my squirrel cage fan, blower, and the man door here to kind of suck some of the vapor out. Space heater going, everything's all taped up, plastic. I just don't want stuff settling on it. It's not like super sealed. So we're gonna pour some out into this so we can reseal the can per the instructions so it doesn't start drying out of the can, and let's see what happens. As always, painting in the wrong space with the wrong equipment is always interesting, but not too bad. The detail gun, the tip was too small, even when I thinned it out, so I went straight to the 1.8 tip on my bigger gun, and I thinned it. Ended up probably being about 10%, which was probably, I probably should have been about 7 or 8%. And then, yeah, I just laid it on. You're supposed to do 2 coats. By the time I just went back and forth, I'm sure it was. I got some runs and stuff because it's such confined space. But it's covered. I will have to go. There's a couple places like in my fender quarter panels. I'm going to go back with some small brushes and really lather that in there. And to be honest with you, I hate how the gloss is, which the flat or the semi-gloss is like way more expensive. I don't know why. So I'm going to let it cure up really good, and then I'll probably climb underneath there with a couple cans of flat black Rust-Oleum and do a couple test patches and see if hopefully it doesn't peel the paint up, because it's oil-based. They're both oil-based paints. And I'm just going to fog the whole thing in flat, and that ought to cover everything pretty good. So overall, it seems to stick a lot better than Rust-Oleum. That's for sure, to the metal. So I'm really thinking this is going to stand up really well. So we'll let that dry back up, and we'll take a look at it afterwards. This is double top coated, I guess, at this point, with flat black Rust-Oleum rattle can. And it just goes so I could get back into kind of the really hard to reach places just to get some paint on it. You know, like up in there, and I hated the gloss. So I'm really happy with how this turned out. And again, I know I'm probably gonna have to, you know, get under here and do some painting spring and fall just to you know, keep it clean. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. One thing that I haven't had a chance to do was Eastwood makes a product that is a rust prevention. It's an aerosol, and it comes with a tube, kind of like a WD-40 straw, but like 3 or 4 feet long, and you can fish it up inside frame rails, rocker panels, and things like that, and fog from the inside. And they're currently out of stock on that, so I need to get some of that. But I also picked up some fluid film, which is like it's a winter rust prevention. It's really thick oil. It reminds me of like white lithium grease. So I went ahead and sprayed that inside the bottoms of the drain holes of my doors. All the paint was really good there, so I didn't really need to paint over it, but I did want to kind of protect it from salt water spray from the roads getting up in there, so I did all that. So hopefully come springtime, early summer, this will be really clean underneath, and we'll look underneath it and see how it did after that. So other than that, thank you very much for checking out this video. I hope it helped. If you have any comments or questions, please be sure to leave those in the description below, or in the comment section below, rather. Email me, hawkeyeskunkworks@gmail.com. Follow along on all of our social media, Instagram and Facebook. And as always, thank you. Have a good day. Bye.
Take a cup of kindness yet for